All right, guys. Welcome back to an old tradition where dogs, annoying Mojang developers so long until they agreed to do an interview with him. And today, we have a brand new developer for Minecraft Java Edition. Rock is here with me. Hi, Rock.
Hello.
Thank you very much for taking the time talking to me. I hope the other developers didn't say don't do it. He's crazy. But yeah, I guess. Worked out. You're here, so it couldn't have been that bad.
I haven't heard anything from them, so.
Good, good, good. I guess that's a good thing. So yeah, maybe you could introduce yourself a little bit and tell the viewers here what's going on and what is your role in the Mojang dev team and a bit of a history.
Hi, my name's Josh. More better known or more well known as Rock in the community. I kind of started out as a kind of part of the CTM community, making maps and such, and just being kind of the coming up with interesting ideas and such for mapping within the CTM community. Eventually, I joined the Microsoft team on the Bedrock edition and worked over there for 3 years, and then had the opportunity to transition over to the Java edition team, which is kind of the edition that I've really always played. And so it was a happy transition for me. And I've been working there since July, so I'm a little over a month on the team.
Yeah, brand new to the team now. Obviously, you moved from the United States over to Sweden. So obviously, big
it was
change.
it was an interesting transition of moving from the U.S. to Sweden. I don't regret it, and I've had a lot of fun since I've been here.
Yeah, I mean, I had a chance to visit the Mojang team twice now in the old office and now also in the new office. So it's also definitely a nice workspace for anybody to work. I can tell you it looks nice there, all new, brand new. So you moved into a brand new space pretty much. Good start. So
Yep.
before we continue with the interview, guys, we really want to make a clear statement because, sure, we're going to talk about the game and maybe also about some of the future developments. But, Rock is here as a private guy, as a Minecraft guy. Okay, he works for Mojang, but this is his private opinions. We're not trying to, speak in the name of Mojang here or, Microsoft. That is always when we do these interviews, we talk about the game. But whatever is said here, don't go back later on Reddit post 3 years. In 3 years, oh my God, back then Rock in this interview said pigs will get wings, and it's still not in the game. Mojang, you liars. You know what I mean? I mean some things that could end up in the game, but as usual, with Mojang, it's a team decision. The developers have ideas about the game, and in the end, there's a discussion, and they decide in which direction the development goes. So
Yep.
that's a clear disclaimer here. We don't want to get Rock in trouble if he's with
I
anything.
would prefer not to get in trouble.
Exactly. So but we always do that in front of the interview just to make that clear. And I mean, Rock to me is one good example for a good tradition with Mojang that the developers always kind of seek interaction with the community in various ways. Some prefer Twitter. With Rock, for example, I was surprised to hang out on the SciCraft chat a few days or a few weeks ago, and then there was this guy Rock here, and then I quickly found out, wait a minute, he knows what he's talking about. And okay, he's actually a developer. And we briefly met at the Creator Summit too, I think. If I'm
No,
or was it?
I
Were you at
I
the?
was at the Microsoft's
You were at the other thing. All right.
the other one, not the Mojang one.
Yeah, there was 1 million people, man, at the Creator Summit. It was
I'm sure
crazy.
we'll meet in another summit of
Yeah,
some
hopefully
type.
that
But
would be great. Yeah, so Rock was hanging out in the SciCraft chat, and we were talking about the game, and one day we thought, hey, why not just record it one day, and make a little podcast for the people to hear, because there's often these rumors, Mojang is not listening and so on. That's not true. People choose different ways. Some more direct, some more indirect, but there's always conversations. And one topic we talked about a lot, especially with the tech guys, around the SciCraft crew, um, infinitely renewable resources. Right? Many of us made the statement that we think most of anything, despite of maybe some very rare items, should be infinitely replenishable. What is your general idea about that?
So, so generally speaking, for myself, I find that most resources should be replenishable in some fashion or another. Whether it's a kind of an easy kind of replenishment or it actually requires a little bit of work.
Yeah,
I mean, you have the easy replenishment of like, if I want to get an ad nauseum amount of cobblestone, I can just make a cobblestone farm and it's,
yeah.
super easy to farm. Or if I want to make something that's, you know, a bit more difficult to farm, then it's possible. It requires more work to do, but it is possible. And I think I kind of see that a lot with most racehorses. And I personally feel that like there should be some manner of being able to harvest these resources in a replenishable fashion, but it might require a bit of extra effort. So it might not be like an early game kind of an initiative, but later in the game when you've played for hours and hours and such like that, then maybe it makes a little bit more sense that you're able to acquire these resources a bit easier.
I mean,
um,
in all my years playing Minecraft, I had this experience many, many times. For example, right now, in where I'm at the season in Hermitcraft, I really need a lot of Iron Man because I want to make this giant fish net. And
mm,
it just looks so cool with the waterlogged iron fences, right? So now I'm sitting there thinking, man, this iron mining, sorry to say that, but it's the most boring thing ever. I just rush through caves, try to pick up as much iron I can, and the only thing I want is an iron farm at this point. So
mm,
I feel as an experienced player, and if you have a feel, want to have a feel of progression, building towards automating something or farm something should always be an option in the game. But I mean, many people play the game in a different way. But yeah, in general, for example, the desert, the sand situation. I always felt there should be some way to get, a mob that drops sand or something. Or exploring in the end, at some point on a server, all the end cities are raided, nothing respawns again. You have a lack of shulker shells, or you've been exploring forever, you fall into the void, you lost all your shulker shells, and then half of your end is raided. Of course, the end is big. Don't get me wrong, you can keep on exploring, but it gets more and more, yeah, repetitive. And there's plenty of examples.
I think the at least the example you were sharing, the examples you were saying kind of make a lot of sense. Like you know Minecraft is meant to be played for many, many hours. And so, like, some of these situations like the end where, like, you explore, it takes hours to explore a lot of these
Mm,
areas because they're just so large and it, you know, there's so much space between everything like that. Like, trying to find, like, an end chip in order to get an Elytra, for example, like, it just takes a long time. So, like, if you want to have some type of renewable system for making elytras, it's not very good at the moment. Um, so, like, you might spend a number of hours to get an elytra, but then you lose it, and now you're kind of shit out of luck.
yeah, and
And
also, then after you experienced, the end cities, for example, for the first time, and you had this experience a few times, and you have to go back to get another elytra, it's more like a task than something
mhm.
fun, you know?
Yeah, it's
You
kind of
know,
similar with the shulkers and the
yeah.
shulker
So it
boxes and
would be
stuff like
cool,
that. Like,
okay,
you have to spend a number of hours to get at least a couple shulker boxes, and
yep,
then
yep.
you lose them, and then you're kind of you know you're at loss because now you have to spend even more hours to go exploring out even farther to get even more,
Yeah,
versus some type of maybe a renewable system that maybe it's not easy to do, but maybe there is a system in place to be able to do it.
yeah, I mean, nobody says things should be easy obtained. Sure, you don't want to quote unquote have people rush to end game,
Mm.
although that is also something, in Minecraft there is literally no end game. I mean, you can always keep on going. So,
To some
yeah,
degree, there is an end game,
yeah,
and it's once you've gotten established on like your iron farms and
mm,
and all of your kind of major resources. Once you've gotten established in those degrees, then you're kind of at an end game where you kind of can more freely gather resources.
yeah,
Like,
and keep on
once
pushing
you
forward
once
and
you
do
have
bigger
like a witch
builds.
farm and you have an iron golem farm, like you can kind of make all the pistons you want, and I mean you can kind of more or less do whatever you want to some degree, minus the the super crazy
I mean,
some of the super crazy things you can do.
I would assume that anybody who played on a survival world together with friends or alone in a longer period and didn't cheat, just I don't know, honor roll or whatever, gentleman's agreement, you don't cheat.
Yeah.
You would find out that without automating things, to a certain degree, more or less,
Hmm.
there is a wall in Minecraft you will never be able to break, because there will be moments you die. So what happens then, if you lose all your gear and you don't have a mob farm so you can easily get XP levels? It will take you forever to, you have to go through the same progression again. Mine with basic diamond tools, and it throws you back so much.
Yep.
So I just feel if you ever play survival for a longer time, you will end up making certain things. Maybe, not everybody will take it as far as the SciCraft guys or other tech servers,
Mm.
Prototech or Dark. There's many out there. But even on the Hermitcraft server, which I would never consider a technical server, it's more for entertainment. Dude, everybody automates everything, man. There's
Yep.
farms everywhere. It's just how you play the game, it seems. Yeah.
I find it with a lot of the more enjoyable games, at least for myself, like the games, they'll start out with it's difficult to gather resources, and
Mm.
you'll spend the time to gather those resources, and then as time progresses, it becomes exceptionally easier to gather those resources. Like
Yeah.
you can create types of farms, or you can create types of automation that allow you to get those resources more
And I
easily.
agree. There should.
And a lot of Minecraft has that.
Yeah.
Like you have the iron farms and coral farms and slime farms and all of that.
All
But there's
farms. Yeah.
exactly there's still parts of Minecraft that haven't gotten to that point yet, where
Yeah.
even the simple things. I wanna get a whole bunch of cobweb. Well, I can't really make a farm for cobweb. I've got to go out to abandoned mine shafts, and you have shears to mine those. But why does it necessarily have to be that way? Why couldn't there be some easier way to farm it? Or look at stuff like sponge. Like sponge is an exceptionally hard thing to get because it requires the Elder Guardians, or the the uh, the ocean monuments in order to find those chambers and stuff like that. So I mean, I think there are improvements that can be made to make some of these things, maybe not make them easier to acquire, but maybe have ways to acquire them that require work to get them.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, but we see these tendencies in the game for years now. In some areas, I don't know, it seems some areas are a bit more hot topics, or I don't know, because iron farms I know are back and forth in the discussion. Is the villager spawning
Yeah.
or the villager mechanics in general are under scrutiny often? Should they be reworked? There's many ways, but in general, I think this should be a general idea that in a sandbox game where you want to build infinitely, everything should be kind of infinite,
Yeah.
and that doesn't mean you can infinitely mine it, because
After some number
you
of
know
hours, it should be
yeah,
a little bit easier to get, and
time is not
building
infinite
just
for
as
anybody, right? So
yes, exactly.
you also want to have people to be able to experience these late game moments as well, and if everything takes forever, I mean, some people might give up before they even get there. So yeah.
I think that's one of the nice things about Minecraft is like there is so many of these moments where you can kind of create these farms, and it makes it so much easier that you can make these extravagant contraptions, because you know I've seen quite a far number of like redstone contraptions that use far too many sticky pistons, and far too many pistons and such, and it's only really possible in the survival sense because these players have been able to create these farms that have been able to farm these resources in order for them to create these, because you
Yeah.
know piston you mean if you want to make a large amount of pistons or even sticky pistons, it's not technically cheap.
No.
I mean, it requires like quite a bit of resources,
It
but
requires a
because
whole
you can
infrastructure around it to produce that much.
exactly.
And
But
some people
yeah.
say just play creative then, but that's not the same thing. Being able to, achieve that in survival has an extra sense of satisfaction, and there's still today it's not that bad anymore, but back in the days when I started with my Minecraft Let's Plays, right? It was crucial to make
Mhm.
sure everybody knows you're not cheating or not, you play solid vanilla. It was super important because your achievements then counted more. Obviously, if you build something pretty cool purely in survival, and until today, it's still like that. It's not, that crazy anymore. People don't make this crazy distinction between creative and survival anymore. If it's a cool build, people enjoy it. But still, for me personally, my proudest moments were always when I made something in survival that looked cool or did something cool, and I knew, I made this all from scratch. I started with my fists punching a tree.
I
Right?
think there's just a general sense of accomplishment of, I did this myself and I just didn't give it to myself kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's just important. Well, that's definitely good. When I was at the Minecraft Creator Summit, in Stockholm, talked to plenty of the developers, and I could definitely hear a common sense when it came to, or common opinion when it came to this renewable stuff, that this should be always a common trend, but also it needs to be finely balanced. You really have
That's the
to,
hard part about it.
yeah, you really have to think about this stuff carefully. You don't want to. Man, technically, you can rush an iron farm, these days. I mean, you can rush a villager trading really quick. That would give you access to good books, and from there you could rush iron farm and then really go fast. But rushing still would mean quite some effort. It's not like, you can do it in an hour. It'll take you a while. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's what we need. You want this long-term motivation as well.
Hmm.
Well,
I mean,
talking.
it's one of those things that you want it to, at least for some of the like the more renewable, really useful resources, you want it to take time to actually do. Like even with like when I saw your Trident farm, like you
Yeah.
spend a huge amount of time actually creating that Trident farm, and it put you kind of almost bankrupt trying to
Yeah.
create it.
Yeah, I was really, no enchantments, digging up all this sand and stuff, dude. It really took. That was at least, let's say, 20 hours of real work building this thing in survival Minecraft. Yeah, including the resource gathering, of course. So yeah, and the research had been done before. You know what I mean?
Mhm. So I
So
mean, it wasn't
uh,
a free kind of thing that you
no,
were able to
no.
do. It required at least a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and live consulting. I was talking to El Mango while I was building it and testing and so on. Yeah, so yeah, it's nothing you just whip out. Of course, when a tutorial exists, then people can just copy it. But at least the original designs take players a long time to figure out, and many figure
Mhm.
out their own solutions as well. So
Yep.
yeah, it's nothing you can rush. But it was just a necessity. It felt like on a server, that was active or is active with 10, 12 players sometimes on at the same time constantly. It seemed it was very, very hard to get a trident. Of course, it's a rare item,
Hmm.
but even with the farm, I got like 5, 6 tridents, out of, let's say, with the AFK time, also 3 days of work. So I guess that's fine. you know, I could have probably gotten the same amount when I was just swimming about and trying to slice random ones. I don't know, but it was fun to make it. So yeah, we talked about the basic idea with resources and so on. Performance, obviously, is also a thing I recognized is a bit of an issue in the current build, 1.13. For example,
Yeah.
there was an issue with water updates being really, really taxing. If you look at the, MSTP
Yep.
and so on. Well, I know you guys been working hard for under snapshots for 13.1, and already had a lot of improvements. You told me, right, when it comes to performance.
Yeah. So in general, I think 113 wasn't. Uh, we weren't entirely happy with the performance. That was kind of the ultimate performance of 1.13. There was a lot of kind of because of the fact that the 113 was kind of merged with 114 in a
Mm,
technical and also the updated aquatic. Um, there was a lot of under the hood changes that were made in order to kind of make things easier for us in the long haul, but also in an attempt to just make the code better.
yeah.
However, there was unfortunate performance decreases that were made.
Mm.
And it's definitely something that we've been taking a look at as we've been going from 113 to now. We've definitely made a leap
Yeah.
in performance improvements. I think there's more improvements to be made in the future. I don't know if it kind of depends on when 113.1 lands,
Yeah.
because I know we've been doing a lot of snapshots and stuff like that. Um, but I know I can at least say that 113.1 is going to be far better in performance than 113 is.
Yeah, already I could
And
feel that when I was playing on the snapshots, man. You just feel it already. I didn't even look at numbers, but just how, if you play the game for years, you can feel differences in performance by just playing. How
yeah,
do you move? How does things look? Or how do
mhm,
things look? And I could
yeah,
already tell a difference, especially with water updates then and so on.
yeah. With regards to water updates, Fry and Grum have been doing some work recently in order to improve them because um, we recently learned due to Nembone
Yeah,
about some of the water performance issues
yeah,
that were introduced in 113. So Fry and Grum have been looking into those, and in general, Fry, Grum, and Buck have been looking into a lot of the performance issues and have done a fantastic job so far, at least improving 113 from what it
yeah.
was to what it is now. So
Yeah, well, I was
whenever,
surprised.
yeah,
I was surprised by 113 because the amount of entities that got introduced into the game was just, for me, it was like, okay, another mob, okay, we're adding turtles now, okay, and then a million fish, all right, dolphins. And I was like, when I was looking back at the history of the game, entities always been a thing, when it comes to being careful with because of lag. So I was thinking, okay, then you got to be quite confident in the future improvements they can make to the engine if they keep on adding so many entities. I don't know, the fish that was also a result of Nembon's testing was alone were quite taxing on the AI. I remember it was the amount, the fish AI did consume as much as the mob AI pretty much or more at parts. So definitely there needs to be some work in the engine if you want to see some future ambient stuff, which I would love, maybe some birds flying about, maybe a squirrel there or something, um,
the hard
because
part is that not all of the additions that were made is exclusive to the mob itself.
yeah,
There have been a lot of other changes, like to collision and stuff like that,
yeah,
that are generally taxing on the
yeah,
server, and that we are working to improve.
yeah,
So, like some of the even some of the changes or additions to stuff like the fish might not entirely be because of the fish, but because of other systems that have changed
of
during
course.
the
I mean,
implementation of
it's like,
1.13.
yeah, of course. I mean, when you talk about bugs and problems, people like me or others always tend to simplify things. Of course, in such a big game by now with so many complex, yeah, so much complex code, one change often affects like a dozen others or more. And it's hard, for the develop team to find these chains sometimes. That's
Yeah.
why, for example, Grum is always talking about he wants to have a clean code, you know. So if something is weird, he knows exactly why. But
Yep.
yeah, we'll see if that
So,
ever happens.
I
you
mean,
know,
there
every
it
developer's dream, the
yeah,
clean code. Yeah,
exactly. So, I mean, it's possible that fish could be more expensive than
yeah,
the typical mob, but it's hard to say without taking into consideration some of the other additions that were made.
exactly. I mean, I personally, I did this fun thing on the Hermitcraft lately where I have this fish switch and turned off all the fish and then was swimming around in the oceans and I just felt like, man, now I just realized how empty the oceans were before all the, ambient fish and all this stuff. And I missed them
Yeah,
right away. And I thought, man, it would be cool if we had more, kind of ambient animals. We have the bats, which could be considered ambient animals in my opinion, because that's all
there's
they do.
something.
Yeah. So, I would love to have birds, butterflies, stuff like that, because it changes how you feel in your world so much. At least swimming in the water is a day and night thing with the animals around and not. It's really weird. Felt eerie without them, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
not
wow.
not including the bug that I have
Oh yeah,
recently
the
fixed
fish.
with the fish.
Yeah,
But
well.
yeah, it's there's definitely a number of changes that were introduced in 113 that you kind of look back after playing it and then go, wow, I don't know
Mm.
how I lived without these changes, like, stuff like the ambient fish in the ocean or
Dude,
and such like that.
a lot of people have left comments for me on Twitter or the YouTube videos and said, "Man, Doc, I'm really since you started the last season on Hermitcraft, I felt the love for the game coming back. I felt really good about that, but I also knew I did feel the same when I was playing a lot now, and I think a huge part of that really is the ambience of the game that we had something new to see, and it felt really fresh." And new, almost like back then when you played the game for the first time. And I think when it comes to that, the update Aquatic was a really good one. Um,
Well, it's one of
felt
those
good,
things
man.
where Update Aquatic, like you look at the oceans, they're like a majority of what your world is
Mm,
oceans. And so, any normal player is probably going to have sailed across the ocean a number of times in order to get to
yeah,
various places in the world. And it's always been kind of just boring. You
yeah.
sail across the ocean and then that's
Endless
kind of
gravel,
it.
endless gravel floors.
Exactly. And so like
Squid here and
you
there.
now have the opportunity to sail across the ocean and you see, you might if you sail across a new ocean, you might find a coral reef or something like that,
Yeah,
which is interesting to at least see, and might have something you're interested in acquiring kind of thing, or you just all the kelp and all that. It just adds more to the game, to the visuals that before it was just kind of randomly sailing across without really paying attention to.
for me, for example, talking about yeah, changes in 1.13, the trident that got introduced, which we talked about briefly already with my farm and all this,
Yep.
um, for me is a huge gameplay changer when it comes to PvE in the game. I
Hmm.
found it's especially useful in mid-range combat as an in-between thing between the bow and the sword, because in mid-range you could, if you have loyalty, spam, almost literally spam the trident and have a lot of damage output. So
Hmm.
that of course leads to the question, will the trident maybe also affect the PvP community? And of course the age-old question, do you have an opinion about the current PvP? Would you do changes to it? And what do you think about how does the trident maybe affect PvP?
So I think in general, personally for myself, a lot of the changes that were made to PvP probably affected PvE more so than PvP, or at least in a positive fashion.
Yeah,
Um, uh, I'm like I said, I come from the CTM community,
yeah,
where it's kind of that more survival experience versus mobs and stuff like that.
yeah,
So like the changes to ultimately the changes to having shields and having cooldowns on tools and weapons and stuff like that, it made them more survivally experience better.
yeah,
Um, now, I wouldn't necessarily say that those changes made a more positive experience on the PvP players.
yeah,
So a lot of at least from my personal gatherings of the PvP environment, is they've kind of um, they strive on a lot more of the fast combat-y interactions,
yeah,
and with the changes to cooldowns and such like that, it definitely drastically reduces that PvP kind of fast combat. Additionally, the fact that shields are essentially more or less mitigate arrows and such like that makes it a lot less interesting. Um,
yeah.
it loses a lot of that interaction of like having play and counterplay. So like if someone has a shield, there's not a whole lot of counterplay to that shield. I mean, you can technically use an axe and stuff
Mm,
like that, but at that point, you're getting into melee range where
yeah.
it's you're not at the ranged
You're
range
probably
that
gonna
you like.
take more damage when switching over and trying to hit.
Exactly.
You can
So
easily
I
be
mean,
flanked. I mean, by an experienced PvP player. No, I rarely saw the X, shield breaking in action in PvP these days, honestly.
The idea
Yeah.
behind it is good because
Yeah.
it kind of adds that counterplay,
Yeah.
but the actual use of it and functionality of it is not as strong. Um, it feels kind of weak in comparison to kind of what a normal PvP person might have been used to prior to that. Um,
Exactly. I
so
mean, lately I was watching something on YouTube. It was what is this guy? This really good PvP on Hypixel. Oh man, I forgot his name. But he held the world record in Bed Wars wins. In succession. I think it was 1,800 or something in the end. Bed
mhm.
Wars one in a row. So he really is good. And
Yep.
there, obviously, it's the 1.7, 1.8-ish PvP, more fast-paced. And to watch it on YouTube, yeah, it just looked cool, when he was comboing people, getting them airborne. And you could clearly see there is a lot of skill involved. He was clearly better than the others because he knew the combos. So
Mhm.
that's what when I was talking to the PvP community, they say they want the 1.710, 1.8-ish PvP, bit more fast-paced. Um, Other developers also spoke about it. And also Jeb said there will be, some changes to PvP. Definitely somewhat down in the future. We don't know when yet, but it's definitely, I just there will be changes, and the PvP community is heard. It's not like nobody listens. But man, there was a lot of other priorities. And for PvE, I agree with Rock. For PvE, the new mechanics made the gameplay a lot better. It's way more challenging
It,
now. You face skeletons and all of that. You have the sweeping edge.
it's difficult to try to have an experience that's both
Yeah,
enjoyable for PvP and PvE.
yeah,
Um, in general, I think most times with kind of combat and stuff like that, it usually tends to lean towards one or the other.
yeah,
It's definitely it's not something that I don't think we're going to revisit over time. And I mean, like you just said, what Yen said, um, it's definitely something we'll revisit as we feel is important.
yeah,
And I can't imagine it's not going to be revisited, multiple times in the future. So I mean, it will evolve as the game evolves.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I just hope, we'll find some closure with the PvP thing at some point, that everybody is at least happy with a compromise or something. Right now, of course, there is still some controversy about the topic, but it's being worked on. Patience is a virtue when it comes to that, and we'll see some changes. I mean, I said my favorite feature in 1.13 might be the ambient and the trident. For you personally, what did you like most in 1.13? I told you the question before, and you
Yeah,
already
you
said,
told me
"Oh
this
man,
question, and I
that's a
didn't know
hard
the answer
one."
to. Um, I come from the map making community and the seed
Hmm.
game community in general. I think one of my favorite changes was the essentially the tooltip improvements to the slash commands,
Yep.
and how they're a lot more instructive and that you can kind of see all of the stuff far more easily,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to manipulating entity MBT and stuff like that, or block MBT and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It
Even I, as a
I
command block noob, can do some things now,
Yeah, and
astonishingly.
even with just the basic commands,
Yeah,
like if
yeah,
you, I remember I was looking at some slash command stuff earlier today, and
yeah,
just trying to use slash commands with 112, like it doesn't give you any helper information on what the
no,
commands are, or what the things you're trying to complete with the commands are, and it
yeah,
makes it extremely difficult.
yeah. It's way more
But
better.
like
I have to agree.
113,
Yeah,
with 113, you're able to see, like, what the next parameter of your command is,
yeah,
or like even with manipulating blocker entity MBT, you can kind
yeah.
of see
Absolutely.
the actual bits of information that you could use or could manipulate, kind of thing, and it makes it so much easier. um, but outside of that, that's a good question. I don't know.
To give you some
I
time
think
to
113
think.
is just 113 is
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
I think it's just I enjoy most of outside of that. What I enjoy most of 113 is it kind of touched on an area of the game that was kind of dead before, and so like I don't even I can't before 113 I had no idea that 113 was kind of what 113 was going to be about, and so like I had never considered like the oceans to be a thing. Kind of, it was something I sailed across to get somewhere else. It
Yeah.
was not something that I actually considered a place to go to do stuff.
Yeah. Now
And
everybody is
so,
all over the ocean. I mean,
exactly,
I have to say the new water mechanics and things that got introduced gave a lot of inspiration to me. I want to build stuff underwater. I made this skeleton and I don't know. There's a lot of things to do. I think yeah, it's a good update. For you as a
yep,
CTM guy, you like the
yep.
command book stuff. So do you actually find time to work on CTM projects these days anymore?
It's been a while, and it's something I want to get more into. It's kind of one of those things like I've been a big prior to working on the Minecraft side of the team on the Bedrock edition, and before working on the Java side of the team. I used to be a CTM Let's Player,
Yeah.
and so it's one of those things I haven't done for a number of weeks, and I'm getting back into it just
you
recently,
know,
and
if
so I'm hoping that with some of the extra time I have, because my time zone's way completely different than it used to be, and
yeah.
I have a lot more free time now that I would hopefully be able to start working on some more CTM stuff
Well,
soon.
if you make a good map, you can get it approved by Mojang and Mark, and then you can put it on the marketplace and make a lot of money. I heard,
Well,
the
no,
marketplace is the place to be.
I can't do that because I work on the
I know.
team.
Could you do? No, you couldn't, right? That would not be allowed. You
I
cannot put
couldn't put it.
something on.
I can't put it in the
Hey,
marketplace.
let's make a deal. Come on, man. You
The
put it up there
the
in my name, and then we make it.
I'm in. I don't know if I could put it up on the Java realms. Maybe I don't
Probably.
know. It's a whole bunch of complicated stuff that I
That's
don't
one
know a
of the
whole lot about.
downsides. As soon as you work for Mojang, man, you're out of the community.
Yeah,
You
that was
can't
one of the
participate.
unfortunate parts of when I joined the Bedrock side of things. So I was
Yeah.
like, so I make maps. Could I put them on the marketplace? And they're like, no. I'm like, all right, well,
Dang.
hell.
Dang. Okay, then you hopefully use that in the your payment negotiations. Said, dude, I was becoming a marketplace millionaire. You gotta pay me. You gotta pay me a lot. uh, so
Well, I mean, at least it gives me an option if I decide that the Minecraft isn't thinking for me. I could just make content.
I don't know if you can talk about that also, but what caused you to change sides, so to speak, to come from Bedrock to Java?
Um, I don't know if I can talk about those specific details. I will say it's nothing, not much changed. Outside of moving to a new country and that.
All right, today's episode is brought to you. No, no, I had a terrible cough attack. I need to just stop the recording for a second. So yeah,
He didn't die. We're all
no,
good.
I'm all good. So yeah, you were in the Bedrock team and get transferred to the Java team. I mean, how many people are there right now in the Java team?
Um,
It's a lot.
developer wise.
Yeah, it's a lot, man.
Developer wise. Oh boy, now I gotta count this in my head.
Yeah. So there's the old school guys, right? There's
Uh,
Dinnerbone, there's
we got
Grum.
Dinnerbone, Grum. We have Jens.
Yeah,
So those are like the old school people.
Professor.
Then we have Prof and Fry,
Yeah.
who are, I mean, I guess they're kind of newer in the last couple of years.
Then
We
the
have
girl
Agnes.
power, Lady Agnes,
I technically we have Maria.
Maria. Yeah.
She's on leave right now, but she's part of the team still. We have Kojo.
Yeah, Corey.
We have uh,
You?
I guess it depends on if we're talking about just the Java gameplay developers or just the Java team.
Yeah,
Because we got Peter, who was who's working on the launcher.
yeah. Then
Uh,
there's this whole big graphics department with people.
yeah,
Then
we have a number of people that
yeah,
are on the Mojang team, but are in different parts of the team.
yeah, and then there's a
Uh,
whole cloud of people around it, you know, the customer service and so on and everything. It's a huge thing by now.
yeah,
If you ever get a chance to go to Stockholm, maybe just pay a visit, take a picture from the outside. Don't disturb the guys. Maybe they say hi if it's not too many. I don't know, but it's a huge building by now. I think at least
it's actually a really cool building.
yeah, really nice. Industrial, overgrown industrial is the style of it, I heard.
Yeah,
So,
it's just yeah.
talking about, you've been in the team now since July. So obviously you couldn't have that much influence when it comes to new features, ideas you have. You said mainly you've been working on, fixing bugs so far, and also, you did a lot with Redstone, the piston stuff, talking a lot with the SciCraft guys and others of the community, fixing certain bugs. And it looks really good, the piston behavior right now. You did a really good job with that, man. I want to give you props
Thanks.
for that. Looking really good. So yeah, what are your ideas for the future? I know you can't be super specific with these things, and please, guys, this is personal opinions. Don't once again say in 3 years here, where's the flying pigs or whatever.
Uh,
So what are general ideas, areas you would like to dedicate your time to in the future when you work on the game, or
So
what are you?
generally
Yeah,
speaking, I think most people in the team have kind of areas of the game they enjoy working on.
exactly.
And so like, quite a number of the team has come from like the modding community and stuff like that. And so they've worked on, you know, parts of the game that might have dealt with stuff like that. And then, Lady Agnes came in. She's part of like the gameplay community, so she worked on gameplay stuff.
Mm,
I come from the part of the community that's kind of more geared towards like map making as well as Redstone.
yeah.
Like I used to be a Redstone person back in the day.
I used to be a redstoner, but then I took update 1 point something to the knee. No.
No, um, um, when I used to be a lot more active in actually playing the game, I used to be pretty big into Redstone, and this was
Yeah,
kind of before like the Slimestone introduction.
yeah. I love that
So
you
it was kind
actually
of
use these technical terms, slimestone, right? I mean, it's not really an official Mojang term, but slimestone is a
it's the
community.
community
Yeah, it's
term.
a community term for redstone contraptions, including slimestone. It's an own discipline by now in Minecraft. Slimestone, right?
So
Leaf stone is now the next next thing.
Leafstone and was it Whetstone?
Whetstone. Yeah,
Yeah, I saw those. But like before some of these more complicated redstone based systems were
yeah,
introduced, I used to be more interested and active in redstone,
yeah.
and so I did a lot of work with. I think the most complicated thing I worked on was uh, a block swap 7 segment display.
Oh wow,
Uh,
sounds quite
which
fancy
I
though.
probably isn't that complicated nowadays,
Oh,
but at least back in the day, I know there was normal 7 segment displays, but there wasn't a
dude,
block swap version of it.
I'm also old school. I also can't compete with the young bucks these days, but
Uh,
I'll try.
so I'm still kind of newer to some of the more like the Slimestone and the Leafstone and Whetstone I understand,
Yeah.
but the Slimestone I don't quite understand just yet. I'm still learning. But so
Hmm.
like I've been kind of learning those systems, and so I'm still an old soul trying to learn the new dog trick.
Yeah,
Um,
but that's important. In my opinion, it is quite important that as a developer of a game, you have a certain interest in the game at first, and secondly, if you don't have that much time to play, at least try to, keep up with the latest technology if you're interested in it. If
yeah,
you're, you
I've
know,
definitely been interested in it, and
yeah,
I've been trying to pay attention at least. Even more so since I've kind of officially joined the Mojang team, is trying to get more interested in some of the more technical stuff because
yeah,
like I said, I came from the Redstone part of the community.
Yeah.
And I don't know if really much of the team actually has done some of the redstone side of things.
No,
So
I don't
I
think so. But it's not a bad thing. Of course, they know, and if you have certain test worlds, but yeah, self-developed hardcore redstone stuff, I don't see many of the dev team doing,
so
as a
I've kind
fun
of
thing.
I've almost taken it upon myself to
Yeah.
try to get more familiar with the aspects of redstone that I'm not familiar with. And the same with kind of the map making community of kind of trying to take it upon myself to get more familiar with that, so that at least from what the community can look at the team, they can at least have someone on the team that is familiar with what they do, and that can help introduce new features into the game. So like
Absolutely.
I mean I've
Yeah.
done like I've only been really working on bugs, but I've technically introduced some new features for the map maker community and stuff like that with
Yeah.
some of the new stats that I introduced
Yeah.
with one of my fixes that allowed map makers to do more.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of one of those things that I hope in the future that I'm able to work more closely with the redstone community, the map making community, and introduce new features. And even if it's just like minor stuff, but introduce new stuff that those two communities can actually use to kind of create
Well,
more cool things.
the key thing is always just looking for a good way to communicate that works for you with people in the community that know what they're talking about.
Yep.
Even for me, whose job is technically Minecraft is my job, playing Minecraft is my job. Even I cannot keep up with all the stuff that constantly gets developed, especially in the Redstone community.
Yep.
They're those crazy guys. They come up with something nuts every day
Uh,
almost. So how are you
I've
gonna keep
definitely seen
track?
a lot of cool and weird stuff from them.
Of course. So, I mean, my way of keeping track is, hanging out in Discord with people and so on, and then there's a constant talk about new stuff and things. That's the way to do it, but then there's so much stuff you still forget a lot of things again, so yeah. But, just being involved in the community, I think is a good way to kind of keep track what's going on right now. And also, the hardcore guys, they will whine first if something is not working like it should be, so...
Oh, I know they will.
You know how
They,
Methods
they,
is. He will
I've
give it to you.
since I've started integrating myself into the kind of the technical community, I've gotten many of people who have told me about issues and bugs that
Yeah,
I've either looked into or I try to look into.
yeah. Rock has this list now. It's like this is how it works. The guys at Mojang don't need to give Rock some things to do just by hanging out in the Discord. He gets spammed with bug fixing requests. So yeah, that works out.
It's not even like fully just like bug requests. It's
No.
sometimes it's feature requests
Yeah.
and it's. I mean, I don't dislike it. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
The more I can communicate, communicate with the community, the better.
Well, you just need to watch out you don't, overextend yourself with all that stuff. Because sometimes, like if you get a million opinions, you don't know if you can't see your own opinion anymore. So,
Yeah.
but it's all, nobody's really bothering you there, right? I mean, it's chill. Nobody's like,
Not
it's
yet.
Rock.
Not yet.
Yeah,
I'm not that popular of a dev yet because I'm new.
yeah,
So
exactly.
maybe I give it a little bit of time and then
Oh,
I'll get there.
there was this fun thing yesterday, right? This one guy came in and he was hanging out for quite some days with us as well there. And then at some point he says, "Hey, are you?" I think Italian guy, and he goes like, "Hey, what? Are you really a Mojang developer?" And he was not sure if it was true, and we kept on trolling him. And yeah, it was quite funny. So yeah, it's quite
I'm
normal.
I'm still in the infancy of my development where people
Yeah,
aren't quite sure that I'm a developer yet.
yeah.
And I'm sure once I get to the point where everyone knows I'm a developer,
Oh my
then
God, you
that's
can't.
when I'll get all the requests.
Oh God, you can't go into any Discord anymore. No. It will be good. I've never heard of a developer really being harassed in a Discord. I mean, sure, there's been really strong opinions in the past about certain changes to the game and whatnot. I mean, a
I
lot
mean,
of
there's always going to be
yeah,
opinions about changes.
of
So, I mean,
course,
someone's always going to like something, someone's always going to dislike something. So,
of course, very normal.
it's just how things go.
That's just life at Mojang. That's another talking point I have down here. Obviously, if you're working on one of the most popular games ever made. It must be some sort of dream job, I almost think, right? As a developer, I would be like, all right, well, I'm biased. I love Minecraft, right? But I would say, dude, this is pretty cool. Working on this game, a lot of fun.
I agree.
Yeah. When you back then, did you have to think twice when you first got the chance to work at Bedrock back then, or was it like, all right, I'm in?
So it was one of those things where I was in between my last job and a future job.
Mm.
And so I was kind of, I think it ultimately took a year between my previous job and the Bedrock job. Um, and it was one of those things where one of my friends was like, "Hey, I saw this posting about a job working on Minecraft," and I was like,
Mm.
"No, that can't be
Mm.
possible.
Yeah.
That's not one of those things you just
Also, you so
see
really
online."
you traditionally applied for the job, uh,
Yes,
on a.
for Bedrock, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was one of those things where my one of my friends saw the posting, and
Mm.
then I looked at the posting and applied for it, and I heard about it, and it was ultimately within a month I had gotten the position and was on the team. I had I know one of the I got when I did the interview, I got flown from Florida to Washington State and did the interview and flew back in the same day. It was a ridiculous amount of flying in the same day, but
uh,
I did all of that. And after coming out of the interview, I essentially got the position.
nice.
Um,
Yeah. It's hard these days, obviously, if there's limited space in the gaming industry, although it's a booming market you hear all the time, but it's also a very volatile market. Studios come and go. So, with Mojang and, the big Microsoft in the background, you can also be sure it's a bit of a long-term gig.
yeah,
If you not
some of
really screw up an interview and, speak about secret things and get fired.
uh, I think some of it. I think not all of it's kind of. I think some of it was part of like at the right place, the right time.
Of course, timing is always important in life. Yeah.
Because when not with the time that I had joined was right before the Windows 10 Bedrock Edition launched,
Yeah.
and so it was kind of people were needed on deck in order to kind of help release that edition.
Yeah.
And then through showing my skills, they decided to keep me on the team,
Yeah.
and kind of that ultimately led up to the point that I'm at where I was able to apply for the Java Edition team and
Yeah.
kind of get on the team there.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. I'd also, not everybody is willing to relocate, obviously, for a job, and not, talking about even switching continents like you did. I would be down, Mojang, if you want to hire me. I'd move to Stockholm any day. I love it there. Beautiful city to live in. I mean,
I mean, you're not that far from Stockholm, so
no, yeah, sure. I could fly there in an hour and a half or so. I think it is, or yeah, a little bit of above an hour. But yeah, I loved it there, especially in the springtime. I would love to talk to you in December again or so when it's really winter. Let's see
so
how you enjoy it.
I
Right?
traditionally come from the northeast of the U.S.,
Yeah.
where we get like many feet of snow, or I guess meters,
Hmm.
as the Europeans would say.
Yes,
Um,
meters. Get into the meters, man.
I,
Meters, kilometers,
I'm slowly working my way into that, but
kilograms. No,
um,
no pounds here, man. No
yeah,
ounces and wheels.
I'm getting there. But I'm used to having this, apparently from what I hear, it's a bit colder than what I'm used to, but I'm used to this cold weather and this, lots of snow and stuff like that. So,
The
I mean,
darkness is
it's
what gets you, man. The
that's
darkness.
that's what I've heard, and that I'm not used to is that the extreme amounts of darkness and brightness. So like even when I was looking it up recently, it was like during the summer times in Sweden, it's like 19 hours a day of sunlight,
Mm-hmm.
and then like during the dark winter times, it's like you get like 4 hours of sunlight or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So
You will
I'm not
see.
used to that. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to handle that.
Oh
And
well.
I know
I
Dinnerbone
get
was
you
telling
get
me
used to it. Oh yeah, what did he say?
Dinnerbone was telling me to get a sun lamp
Oh.
because it will help. It will help with like essentially because of like
Lack of sunlight, you get
lack of
depressed.
sunlight will get you depressed and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So getting a sun lamp will get you help with that.
Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable tip. Look at
Yeah.
Dinnerbone, man, looking out for
So
his co-workers. The good guy he's always
yeah,
been.
good guy, Din Brown.
Good guy, Dinnerbone, yeah. So, yeah, to finish off our little talk, podcast, interview here, I would like to ask you, I also asked that Lady Agnes recently, what do you think is the best way if you're not Doc or the SciCraft guys and somehow are in a lucky position to directly talk to you, to give feedback to you? Like, what do you read? Do you check out the Minecraft Reddit regularly? Is Twitter a thing for you? Where do you get your general feedback? Like, let's say,
I'm
snapshot drops, right? What do you do?
I'm kind of all over the place.
Mm,
And it's been more so since I've joined the Java team.
yeah,
I very very well frequently the Jira, not Jira, the Reddit post in regards to snapshots.
yeah,
So I'll for a number of days kind of watch over that just to see if there's any questions or anything like that that would be interesting to comment on. I'm also on Twitter, the twitter.com/RocknRoll4Life.
yep.
Um,
And four with a four, like four
yeah, the number
guys.
4. I will send you the info just so if
Yes,
you
we
need to
put it in
post
the
it.
video description.
There will be info there.
Yes,
So I'm on Twitter. I mean, I'm in most places. I try to very frequent the Jira posts and stuff like that. So if you find bugs, then there's a good chance that I will see them. Um, and I also been recently frequenting the kind of some of the more technical communities and stuff like that. So
yeah.
the SciCraft community and stuff like that.
Yeah, there might be a
Uh,
chance, if you often, we're mostly in public chat.
yep.
A lot of
So
random people join. I'm often surprised how little people actually just hang out. I mean, we had times where we were 20 in the Discord and everybody's hanging out, but you know, yeah, it's an open Discord. It's not restricted.
mhm.
Also, if you
But
have questions, you can also come, but don't be
yep.
annoying.
I'd say the generally the best place if
Yeah,
someone wants to try to get in contact with me is probably Twitter.
yeah.
But I'm all over the place anyways. So if you see Rock and Roll for Life, there's a chance it's me. I don't know nowadays that I've become a Mojang person that it might be me, but there's a chance.
Well, you can just hope that it's not some, professional rock and roll dancer, and you'll be confused when you bombard them with Minecraft questions.
Exactly.
Um, so yeah, guys, I'd say we wrap it up. Thank you, Rock, very much, man, for taking the time.
No problem.
Much appreciated. Thanks for all the work you've been doing. For us, as a community, it's really great, to feel heard and to feel that somebody is there that knows what we're talking about when we whine about our redstone problems.
Oh,
So, yeah, that's really much appreciated, guys. If you have further questions, feel free to comment about them. Now is your chance. I will look over them, and maybe Rock will spend some time as he is all over the place, looking at
I'm
them too.
sure. I'm sure I'll peruse them a number of times.
Yeah, and yeah, if you have questions, feel free. Suggestions, put everything you want in the comment sections, and make sure to follow Rock on the Twitters. Always good to know what the Mojang developers are up to. So yeah, thanks again, Rock. See you next time, guys. I'm out. Bye bye.
Hi.
And